This is not complicated. We don't want people to have lead foot.
Good morning. We are going to call the Board of Commissioners of September 20th, 2022 to order. Roll call, please.
Carter?
Here.
Fretham?
Here.
McDonough?
Here.
McGuire?
Here.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Here.
And Modis Castillo.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to turn to Commissioner McDonough for our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed to their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some had lived on this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connections across all barriers of heritage and difference. We are standing on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people. We want to acknowledge the Ojibwe, the Ho-Chunk, and the other nations of people who also called this place home. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the treaties made by the tribal nations that entitle non-Native people to live and work on traditional Native lands. Consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that brings us here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. We have our agenda of September 20th, 2022 presented for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
Fretham?
Aye.
And Modis Castillo.
Aye. We have the minutes from September 6th, 2022 presented for approval.
Move approval.
Motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
Fretham?
Aye.
And Modis Castillo.
Aye. Now we move to my favorite part of our agenda each week, the proclamation. Commissioner Carter will present the proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. And if all of our members of our community and staff, please join Commissioner Carter at the dais.
Thank you very, very much. I am honored to be able to make this presentation and appreciate those who are joining us from our Ramsey County employee group and from community. Thank you for being here with us this morning as we recognize the work of our community and National Hispanic Heritage Week. I understand that Mr. Pinheiro will be delivering remarks in acceptance of the proclamation. But before we go to your remarks, I'll ask that all members here before us will introduce themselves. So, those accepting, would you come forward, please? Mr. Pinheiro, thank you. I will introduce the proclamation. Whereas on September 17th, 1968, the 90th Congress authorized President Lyndon B. Johnson to issue annually a proclamation designating the week, including September 15th and 16th, as National Hispanic Heritage Week, to honor the contributions of Americans who trace their roots to Spain, Mexico, the countries of Central and South America, the Caribbean, and who also have roots in Africa, as well as indigenous communities across all the Americas. And whereas on August 17, 1988, Congress amended the former resolution authorizing President Ronald Reagan to extend this recognition into an annual month-long celebration from September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the achievements of Hispanic Americans in the arts, education, entertainment, government, history, law, literature, medicine, the military, music, politics, science, sports, and many other endeavors. And whereas Hispanic communities of Ramsey County, the city of St. Paul, and across the region and state of Minnesota have made profound impacts in our society and have contributed to the rich cultural diversity in Ramsey County. And whereas Hispanic communities across the nation have resisted oppression, seized opportunities to achieve prosperity, and have preserved sacred traditions which value family, history, spirituality, nature, and land, as well as food, art, and music, and have consistently contributed to the economy through countless entrepreneurial endeavors, businesses, and have strengthened various labor and industry markets. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners declares September 15th through October 15th, 2022, as Hispanic Heritage Month. And be it further proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners encourages all residents of Ramsey County to join in recognizing and celebrating the contributions and the vital presence of the Hispanic communities in Ramsey County. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over then to Abel Pinheiro, and could you have everyone introduce themselves? Yes. This is an important partnership of our Ramsey County employees and also of our community. And we're honored to have employees and a very important representative of our community here. So it would be wonderful to hear everyone introduce.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Chair Mata Castillo, Commissioners, County Manager Ryan, it is very much a pleasure and an honor to be here with my compadres and my comadres here. That's a Spanish word for friendship, a term of endearment. We share multiple identities here and many pathways having come to this country. Some of us were born here from parents like myself who came from Puerto Rico in the 1940s and 50s. I'm wearing my Puerto Rico heart pin, and let's keep Puerto Rico in our prayers in any ways we can provide support, not only for them, but the Dominican Republic and other nations of the Caribbean. I want to remember them today. They're struggling. I want folks to come up and introduce themselves and say what role they're playing today.
Hello, my name is Maria Antonieta Matahau, known as Tony. And I am an immigrant from Costa Rica, and I've been working in the county for almost 10 years. I'm very proud to be part of the Ramsey County community. And I work right now in the Human Resources Department. Thank you.
Hey, Commissioners. My name is David Herrera, he, him, and I am a Colombian immigrant and have been working in Ramsey County for 3 years in social services. Thanks for having us.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Magdalena Hernandez. I go by Maggie. I'm an immigrant, first-generation immigrant from Guatemala, and I've been with Ramsey County for 22 years. I'm a social worker in the Men's Choice Department.
Good morning. I'm Kari Mazor, and I'm the Racial and Health Equity Liaison for Public Health. I'm Honduran Mexican American.
Good morning. Jesse Saavedra. I'm the Opioid Prevention Coordinator, and I've been with Ramsey County for 3 years, and my family originates from Mexico City.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Elise Mfiki-Rosa.
This is Elise. She's my daughter. My name is Maria Sarabia. I serve in the Social Services Department. I've been with the county for about 5 years, and I'm very excited and honored to be here with all of our folks. So it's a really important time. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I want to say Maria Sarabia is also our executive sponsor for the Voces ERG. Voces means voices, and you'll see it on RamseyNet. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm a member of the Human Resources Team, a diversity, inclusion, and organizational development specialist. One of the hats I wear is to support employee resource groups, but today I'm here as an actual member of Voices. Very glad to be here. I also want to call out a couple of commissioners who, through culture and relations, share Latino identity. Puerto Rico and Guatemala in the House, and that's something to be proud of. Ramsey County is very diverse. It's got a long history. This proclamation is not just about what Voices is doing to recognize Latino employees, Latinx employees in Ramsey County, but also for our community, which are very rich. And, you know, it's not just simply about saying, hey, I'm here, see me. It's about empowering employees to bring forth their culture, the strengths that they get from their culture and their histories into their roles as staff and leaders in Ramsey County, and not leave it at home, because we miss out when we don't bring our full selves to the workplace and when we don't bring our full selves to the community. And I think that's a very empowering thing. So I'm very grateful that the Commissioner supports ERGs. We really need them. They do help. We do have fun together, but we're also about work. And I don't know what else to say except glad to be here and proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we're going to take a photo, but I also would just like to say thank you to you all. And yes, a very special prayer while recognizing all backgrounds and heritages for Puerto Rico this morning and the experience of this storm. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. I was going to invite Commissioner Ortega up to join in the photo if you'd like. I feel like we should embrace our Latino heritage here, and thank you all for coming today. It's so great to see you and celebrate and be part of recognizing Latino Heritage Month.
Commissioner, would you like to come up as well?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a good job. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Hola. ¿Cómo está?
Mucho gusto.
Igualmente.
Gracias por todo.
Todo, gracias a usted. David, ¿cómo está?
Muy bien, usted. Gusto verlo. Solo con su asistente para traerla a usted para el próximo mes.
Lo arreglamos.
Listo, por seguro.
It's always great to put a face to the name of children you hear.
Right. Thank you all. Now, of course, now we have to get back to work. So I'm going to turn to Commissioner McDonough to bring us up on the administrative items.
Madam Chair, I'll move item number 4, terms of collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters 320 Correctional Officers 1 and 2 for the years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Item number 5, terms of collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters 320 Probation Officers for the years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Item number 6, grant award from Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs for County Veterans Service Office Operational Enhancement Grant Program. Item number 7, lease agreement with Frogtown Curling Club for Biff Adams Arena. Item number 8, cooperative agreement with the City of St. Paul for winter recreation operations. Madam Chair, I'll pull item number 9. Item number 10, restructure of Ramsey County Citizens Advisory Council as Community Advisory Council.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on those items? All right, roll call, please.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
Brother?
Aye.
And Modest Castillo.
Aye. We'll return to item 9, joint powers agreement with the City of St. Paul and St. Paul for workforce services through American Rescue Plan Act funds. Commissioner McDonough, would you like?
I'll move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And Commissioner McDonough.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to take a moment here. We've been doing a lot of work, within our regular processes to really transform and listen to community and change how we're doing work. And of course, through CARES and ARPA funding, we've really been able to accelerate that. The city in the ARPA money was able to get money also, and I want to recognize Mayor Carter in his priority of supporting workforce development, especially with youth. And recognizing the path forward on that was working with Ramsey County Workforce Solutions, who's already done an amazing amount of work in that area. Recognize the City of St. Paul for that, supporting Mayor Carter and his efforts. But I really want to call out the efforts of Ling, because transformational work can be really hard. Transactional work, you can usually get to stuff pretty quick, Ling did a lot of front-end work with the City of St. Paul, the St. Paul City Council, and Mayor Carter, about ensuring that these dollars were aligned with the vision of the county board, the vision of the city council, and the mayor's vision for these dollars, ensuring that the work that Ling and her team have done listening to community about what is important was incorporated into that. And we're able to come to an agreement where it seems like a long time ago, but the chair and I were able to be with the mayor at a press conference. Well, Amy, this is no reflection on you, but once you bring the attorneys in, it can get difficult to move transformative ideas forward. And I got to give Ling a lot of credit on the back end and threading that needle to get to today, where we've actually got a joint powers agreement with the city that is true and adheres to the original ideas and original thoughts that were laid out. And I don't have permission from Ling, but I don't think I'm going to be in trouble. At 9:04 today, I got a text from her. Finally, JPA, 2 exclamation points. One for the front end and one for the back end.
Wow. That's awesome. Good work. Great work. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll go to roll call, please.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
Brother?
Aye.
And Modest Castillo.
Aye. I'll turn to County Manager O'Connor for County Connections.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Members, today's agenda, as Commissioner McDonough highlighted one piece, there was a number of significant items on here that I just want to briefly mention. The Community Advisory Council's work has been years in the making and conversations here. A huge thanks to the board and for members of those advisory councils and for staff for sticking with it the whole way through and using the pandemic to learn. Workforce, we already talked about that piece. 2 more of the final 3 labor agreements came through today here in the contractual pieces, 1 more to come in the coming weeks. But we are at the end of a long and important tunnel in that space as well. Gratitude to everyone who's been involved. And then the winter rec area piece on here, I was wondering if Commissioner McGuire was going to hold it together as we went through. But I just wanted to mention that, approving this cooperative agreement with the City of St. Paul for the winter rec operations is a significant milestone as we move toward this expanded opening of the Battle Creek winter rec area this coming winter. And although Parks and Rec has experience operating cross-country ski trails, the development of a facility including snowmaking is new here. And there's a lot that goes into that, and it's a significant body of work that includes working with community, stakeholders, vendors, design, construct, how we operate, working with union representatives to changing employee shifts because snowmaking allows us to think about our work differently. There's just a lot happening. Big thanks to Ryan Reese and Gus Bloomer on design and construction of the facility, Chris Lankowski and Rob Adams for developing the operations plan, and the entire park maintenance staff who have been collaborative partners in developing a staffing plan to make this new recreational facility a success. I was recently at my wife's high school graduation event, or high school reunion event, to be very clear. Let the record reflect reunion. And while there, I ran into somebody that's going to live with me for a long time on that tape. I ran into someone who was a cross-country skier who lives in the East Metro on the east side of St. Paul. Randomly talking to this individual and mentioned the opening of this site, and he did not believe me when I first said this was happening. He said, "I've heard this for years. What do you know about it?" And I said, "I actually know it's going to happen, and now I can produce this and show it." But the community interest is significant, and it's taken a lot of work from many commissioners around this table to get it through. We're not doing a proclamation on healthy aging this year. Public Health has had their hands full with a significant number of other pieces of work. But I did want to take a moment to talk about healthy aging and some of the work happening here during Healthy Aging Month. This is all a process of staying active and vital and healthy. This cuts across so much of our work every week when we talk. Ramsey County, like every county, includes a growing number of people over age 55, with an increasing number of residents from diverse communities. This county is stronger when people of all generations, ethnicities, races, abilities, sexual preferences, gender identity, and economic status contribute to healthy aging. There is a greater need for accessible, language-appropriate, culturally specific services for older adults. Various communities have strength that contribute to healthy aging, and there are also communities experiencing racial and health disparities, which has carried on throughout the lifetime of many of our residents. When age-related discrimination or barriers combine with these disparities, it's even more difficult for some older adults to thrive. We believe that every resident and community in Ramsey County can make a difference by providing education, promoting independence and participation across the healthy aging continuum. And for more information on this work, there is information on our Public Health Department's website, but Director Holly and the team are also going to send out an update to the board this week with more information about the healthy aging work happening here at the county. And as we talked about during the budget hearings, in the coming years, this is an area where we want to continue to focus on how do we do our work as a county in the space of healthy aging and take the bandwidth that we think about in our organization and apply it to such an important area at such an important time. Finally, a big shout out to Julia Wolf, who's been leading this work in public health with support from Key Vang and the ongoing partnership with members from social services, including Maria Sarabia, who you just saw this morning, and Catherine Molinaire. And then finally, I'm going international for the last update today. Director Monica Long in Corrections had an opportunity earlier this week to meet with Liz Reitz, who I think many of you have seen before. She works out at the Ramsey County Correctional Facility in a leadership role, particularly has worked on designing women's programming in the past, and has just done excellent work. And had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Iona Morar, to tour the facility and have a robust conversation about the transformational efforts happening at the Ramsey County Correctional Facility, talking about community involvement, placing residents first, and focusing more on more community and less confinement. Dr. Morar is in the United States as a University of Minnesota Humphrey International Fellow right now, and she is the Deputy General Director of the Romanian National Administration of Penitentiaries. So that's a long title on the business card. But she's a high-up member of the Romanian government, and she's spending the next 10 months here hoping to participate and learn with Ramsey County along the way. It was uplifting to Director Long to be able to see that Ramsey County's name transcends the seas at the edge of the United States and carried forward all the way to where this was a part of the interest. And I want to thank the department. They reached out to me, and I'm going to have the opportunity here as well to get to sit down with Dr. Morar while she's in town. So really great stuff to get to share today. Thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me make those updates.
Thank you, County Manager O'Connor. We'll go to outside board and committee reports. We'll start with you, Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an exciting agenda today, and I'm glad you highlighted so many of the things, Commissioner McDonough and County Manager O'Connor. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Parks and Rec for the great work they're doing on the winter recreation area. The cross-country ski community is very excited about this, and our schools, our East Metro schools, are really happy that they're not going to have to travel to the West Metro for their practices and things, and I think it's just going to serve all of us really well. It'll be great economic development, and I'm just so proud of the work that this board started many years ago, and that we finally are getting it to happen now, and kudos to the Parks and Rec Department for that and for the partnership with St. Paul. So I'm looking forward to the grand opening and the first ski there, and it'll be great. So I just wanted to recognize that as well. Also wanted to say that I was at the St. Paul Children's Collaborative meeting, and Key Vang, speaking of, he spoke on our youth violence prevention at Ramsey County. So shout out to Key for doing a nice presentation at the Children's Collaborative on that. Also, most of us were at the AMC Policy Conference last week. We had great presentations on tax assessments, and the most powerful one was on the elections. And so I am so proud of the work that we're doing as counties on safe and secure elections, but it was really highlighting the work that we are doing, but also the unfortunate instances where people are being challenged on that. So it is out there, and we're grateful that in Ramsey County we know we are having safe and secure elections, and just we're able to get our work done, but many counties are being challenged on that. So it was a great panel on that at the AMC conference. And so it was just a great time to get together. We were working on our policy initiatives. So each committee is doing that, and we'll be voting on those at the district meetings, which are coming up in the next month. So just thanks to everyone who participated in that. We had great involvement from our board, and Ling Becker was up there as well at the Workforce Solutions Committee. So just another shout out, we had the Wild Rice Festival, which I think is the only one in the state that's at the Roseville Harriet Alexander Nature Center. And we were asking, the natives were asking me, the Native Americans were saying, why is it here? We have all these rice paddies. I said, well, I think Gibbs Farm was also there, and I think it's just it's just a festival that has a lot of people go, hundreds of people go to it. And just to highlight the great work that the great contributions that Native Americans do in our community. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner Ortega.
No report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Fretham.
So I got to be a part of, we had our Neighborhood Concerned Citizens Group meeting and the Purple Line CMC, and I'll let Commissioner Reinhart talk about those. I also had the chance with Commissioner Reinhart to meet with Betty McCollum a couple weeks ago about the community appropriation she brought back to our community for the Bruce Vento Trail extension. Really excited about this project and the chance to ride my bike all the way to Canada when it's done. I'm probably not going to do that, but I'm glad to know I could do it if I wanted to. Also got the chance to visit with Senator Smith at Urban Roots, right next to a house I lived in for about a year, to talk about how Senator Smith can advocate for urban farming in the next farm bill. So grateful for that opportunity. And then finally, I just feel like I need to urge people to drive safe. Yesterday morning, there were 2 deadly accidents in my district. A woman in White Bear Township was killed on Highway 61, and a toddler was killed in Arden Hills, and the toddler's 15-year-old brother has serious injuries to his legs. So sending thoughts, prayers, everything to those families impacted by these accidents, and just a plea to everyone to drive safely, especially when you are turning left, as that was part of the cause of both of these accidents. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Furtham. I'm going to turn to County Manager O'Connor on that note because we have some updates and our team reacted very quickly. And County Manager O'Connor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And yesterday was a tough day, sad day, and Public Works was involved. And it's one of these things too, where when you live in a smaller geographic county, there are connections that reverberate through your staff and connections to people who are sometimes impacted as well. And so I want to acknowledge that. It was a really challenging day for some of our folks. As a part of the continued evaluation, there's a lot you don't know right after an accident occurs and when tragic events like this can occur. And so in taking a step back, though, there are some pieces around the left turn and the signal at 96 and Old Snelling where we're adjusting the hours in the meantime of when that signal will flash yellow, which to make sure that we're assessing the incident while not allowing anything to potentially be a concern while you go through the evaluation of the entire approach. And so Public Works has been working across the organization to look at that, and from 6:30 to 8 for the time being, that will not be a flashing yellow as that evaluation is taking place. And we'll have more longer term updates, but sometimes you just want to pause in the moment and make sure you're adjusting where you can. So shout out to Brian Isaacson, Brad Estenson, Joanna Berg. They were working on this all day yesterday.
Thank you, County Manager O'Connor. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you. And yes, you covered a couple of the things that we've been working on. I think the other thing, I'm kind of thinking that you were probably at White Bear Township Day.
I didn't make it out this week.
Oh, well, I was there representing you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's pretty close to my home, and we had our grandkids and said, hey, let's go do that. And they had an absolute blast. Very well attended.
We were getting our COVID boosters this weekend, my whole fam, and so then we were a little
that's
wiped
another
out.
way to celebrate, I guess. Anyhow, so I had the Purple Line Corridor Management Committee met, and I think the staff that's involved with this is just absolutely amazing. And I know Commissioner Ortega, when Gold Line went through this and Riverview Corridor and all of this, where it's not that you have to make adjustments to the lines. And so there were a lot of people that were very nervous about it, but I turned to Commissioner Ortega because he helped calm me down and went, hey, this is the way it works. And that really made a difference. And just looking at it, and they have 4 viable options that they're going forward with. And yes, it means you have to make adjustments, but that's the whole point of it's evaluation, reevaluation, reevaluation. Because you need to make sure that you're doing the right size, the right route. All of those things are under the federal government requirements. And so, that is part of the process. And so it's pretty exciting. We're hoping to have all of this worked out and have it moving forward by November of this year. And I think, again, that has a lot to do with the staff and the commitment and reaching out to community and looking at ideas that you wouldn't necessarily think were right in front of you kind of things. Really delving into what does the community need? How can we make this work? How can we make sure that it's pedestrian and bicycle friendly? I also look forward to being able to ride the Bruce Vento Trail, not this year, but next year. I don't know if I'll drive or ride all the way to Canada, although my granddaughter would probably appreciate that. That's actually when I had I will just tell you on a personal note, when the doctor asked me why I wanted to have my knees replaced. I mean, what was my goal? And I said, my goal is to be able to ride my bike with my grandchildren again. So next year, I will be able to do that, doing very well with that. I also wanted to note that yesterday was the Clean Water Council, and there's a lot of activity happening there. I think just as with all state agencies and local governments and everyone, when there is a surplus at the state level and money coming in for infrastructure development, for climate change, resiliency, all of that, there's a lot that is happening so that it can be evaluated and try to make the best decisions possible. And so just walking through that was very informative for us yesterday. It's a great group, by the way, and when they made the change to having an executive director, which is Paul Gardner, He is fabulous also. And make the change, and spent a lot of time with Ramsey County a number of years ago to come up with the performance-based budgeting model. And it has made all the difference in the world because you can point to successes, you can point to through the evaluation and performance measures, you can figure out where's the best way, the biggest impact. It's not so much a priority as it is where do you get the most impact. And that's the way it's been presented, and legislators love it because it makes sense. You're not talking about, a PILT program or this, that, the things that a lot of people don't know in their day-to-day language. But when you talk about clean water, fishable lakes, people get that. And so they're doing a great job. And then finally, AMC, the Policy Committee meeting, the Environment and Natural Resources. And I wanted to highlight something that you probably wouldn't think about from an environmental perspective, but that is our GIS folks. There are two things that are part of our legislative packet. One is remonumentation, figuring out where the corners of the property line are, where the center line is in a road. All of these things are not all that exciting when you think about, gee, I want a map, because it's so much more than that. The data that you can get from it and knowing where's the watershed, how does all of this work together is incredibly an important task, and we need to do this remonumentation, and there's a cost associated with that because many of the corner posts are not, they know where they should be, but they aren't necessarily there, so you have to do them again. That's remonumentation. So incredibly important to the state. And then the other one is the mapping of utilities and the confidential ability to do that from public safety, from public health, from the environment, so many different ways. But one part of this that is incredibly important also is because it affects fiber when we talk about broadband. Now the lines themselves, whatever utility is, are confidential. However, when you look at, especially with the area of broadband, you can tell where it isn't. And that is incredibly important when we're talking about serving communities, especially those that are underserved already. And it's not just in the rural area, as we know. So those are two that probably most people wouldn't be paying a lot of attention to, so I decided to highlight them.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you. A number of us were at the AMC board meeting and then others also at the policy committee meetings this past week. And it was really a good opportunity to gather together with other counties and to focus in the Public Health and Human Services Policy Committee on our current platform and additions and changes to the Association of Minnesota Counties platform. We talked about an item here at our board meeting last, which we were able to take forward with respect to presumptuous eligibility or presumed eligibility when receiving one set of services and obviously eligible for another. So we lifted that up to the platform, along with also stating areas of change or reinforcement, I should say, because there's some things we've been continually focused on, like systems modernization, which need to continue. Also continuing a number of COVID-related policies and changes, which we found success in. We spoke about the need for strengthening the public health infrastructure, which again is always a need, but lifting that up this time as a priority from Health and Human Services. Also the child well-being continuum, including mental health, as well as a focus on flexible supports for children to remain in their families and to be supported in supportive residences as needed. A lot of different approaches across the state to what that means, particularly for high needs youth. And it was important to, in the Association of Minnesota Counties Policy Committee meeting, be able to discuss that and to agree together on the flexible supports and resources that we need to do the best we can across 87 counties for young people, although the methods may not always be the same. You know, the focus on keeping those young people and our communities safe and supporting their families and communities is the same, of course. We spoke about lifting up the mental health and disabilities continuum and other areas of work. Also in the policy committee meeting, we had the opportunity to hear from both gubernatorial candidate bases, with our governor represented by Peggy Flanagan, and also hearing from Scott Jensen, one of the candidates for governor as well. And there was a presentation by Ling Becker, which, because I was in another room, I did not have the opportunity to hear. I think someone from our board, perhaps Commissioner McDonough, can share more about that. Thank you. That's all I'll share today.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Commissioner McDonough.
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair. A couple things on the AMC policy stuff. I sit on general government, and we had a number of presentations. Ling was one of them. We had an urban perspective on workforce that Ling gave, and a rural perspective on workforce that was done by the Center for Rural Development. And I think the important piece of that was for all the commissioners in the room, whether they represent rural, suburban, or urban, that overlap between the issues in workforce development, how we support job seekers, how we support businesses that are looking for employees, really overlap in almost all ways. And Ling was able to really highlight and present some of the issues that maybe were a little bit more specific to the urban core, and talk a little bit more about the impact in COVID, especially on our 18 to 24-year-olds. Also, in general government, we came up with our 5 priorities. As you know, we're funneling down to AMC's board, taking a position here on the priorities to work on next year, even though the whole platform will be paid attention to, and depending on how things go, it's flexible enough to adjust. But I sit on the Housing, Economic Development, and Workforce Subcommittee, which is a part of general government, and 2 of our 5 priorities actually are the same as last year: investment in housing along the continuum, and recognizing all the way from emergency shelter all the way through to affordable housing for workforce families is an issue. So that's our number 1 priority, and then a number of pieces around the workforce are also a big part of our priority. And then also, like many of you, our issues overlap, and the Transportation Committee had a presentation from the state on the state multimodal transportation plan. It's a 5-year plan. I was AMC's rep on that. It seemed like we met for 2 years for a 5-year plan. It seems a little bit. But actually, it took time because, MnDOT's a big boat. And, in so many ways, their focus has been moving as many cars as quickly and efficiently as possible from point A to point B over the years, and really transforming that to really recognize that it is a multimodal system, and to take a look at it from a perspective that we've moved to, years ago, that, pedestrians, transit, bike users all use this system, and it has to be safe and work for everybody, and they all have to be included in that. And then also a big part of the conversations on this, which took some time, was recognizing that infrastructure is critical to the vitality of our community, but infrastructure can also cause harm. It can bring benefits to certain parts of the community and cause harm in other parts of the community. It can advance some parts of our community in a way that really helps support them, and it can actually hold back or have a negative impact in some parts of the community. And to be able to have that conversation as we were coming up with this 5-year plan, and being able to incorporate that in that, and for MnDOT to be extremely receptive to that, but representatives from throughout the state. And it took some time to do that. I just was CC'd on AMC's response letter to the and I felt a little bit of pride, because there wasn't a long list of things that AMC was highlighting that they didn't like about the plan. So that, I'm hoping that means I did a good job representing the counties in that plan. And the couple of areas, or the one area they called out is vehicle miles traveled. And really, as we transition here in so many different ways and our major funding sources, the gas tax, to really start getting a better understanding of vehicle miles traveled. Goals are to lessen vehicle miles traveled, but at the same time ensuring that we've got a fully funded system that can be responsive. That was the one item that AMC really called out. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. And I just want to add, when we had our performance measures presented to us last week or the last couple of weeks, the idea of digital equity came up, and we all said we were going to bring it up at AMC, and Ling, we did. I talked to staff and they said, yes, 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 we've heard it 12 times. We've talked to all the commissioners and staff at Ramsey County, and they're adjusting some language, so nice work to the team on lifting that issue up. I wanted to add on, I attended the Public Safety Committee at AMC, and I think it was really heartening as I listened to your update on public health and human services, Commissioner Carter, is there's tremendous overlap. The Public Safety Committee was lifting up the same things of mental health, whole family interventions. It was really about early intervention to reduce crime and not a whole lot of talk of what happens after, because they really believe that you need to go upstream, which was really delightful to hear from. Sometimes we have differing views across the state of Minnesota, but it was overwhelmingly about early intervention, whole family, and how we change the system, particularly for youth, and mental health investment. So it was really heartening to hear that, and just wanted to share that there's some good collaboration. And it got kind of came down to, are we overstepping into another committee's work more than anything else, which I think is a really good place to be in those areas. I wanted to also just recognize that Amy Schmidt is here with us today. Thank you, Amy, for stepping in, because Sam Clark had to go get married this weekend and wanted to spend some time with his new bride. And so, Amy, thank you for being here. We're happy to have you. I hear this is just as fun. Just kidding. Anyway, and then one last thing. A few months ago, we had a workshop on cybersecurity, and we had a presentation from Eric Brown, who does cybersecurity work, and then offered to meet with all the commissioners individually. And I took him up on that offer. I just want to share with you, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. He is very generous and kind and not judgmental about where you might be having multiple uses of your passwords, but really has helped me set up. It felt a little bit like when you go to the hairdresser and you're like, yes, I cut my own bangs, and you're kind of ashamed. But he was very lovely and helpful, and I highly recommend that you connect with Eric, who helped me set up passwords in a secure way and really take a deep look of where we might have vulnerabilities. So just wanted to lift that up, and thanks to Eric, I feel a little bit better this week. With that, we are moving to adjournment, and we're going to switch over to our housing and redevelopment. I see our staff are here and ready to go, so we can just move right into that and turn it over to Commissioner McDonough. With that, we are adjourned.
Don't cut your own bangs.